Patriots Nation, there's a situation developing right now that not a lot of people are talking about, but it could quietly become one of the most important storylines of this entire offseason. When you take a closer look at the quarterback room, something immediately jumps out, and honestly, it's a bit concerning. The depth just isn't there. You've got Drake May stepping into that spotlight. You've got Tommy DeVito right behind him, but after that, it's completely empty. And in a league like the NFL, that's not just unusual, it's risky. Think about it for a second. Every team across the league understands the value of having at least 3 quarterbacks ready to go. It's not just about depth for the sake of it. It's about survival over the course of a long and physical season. Injuries happen, sometimes when you least expect them, and when they do, you need to be prepared. Right now, if something were to happen to either May or DeVito, the Patriots would be left scrambling with no real safety net in place. That's not a position any team wants to be in, especially one trying to build stability on offense. This isn't a new concept for New England, though. For years, the organization has operated with a very clear structure when it comes to the quarterback position. 2 primary quarterbacks on the active roster, and then a third option developing in the background, often on the practice squad, ready to step in if needed. That emergency quarterback role has become even more important with the way the league has evolved, and it's something the Patriots have consistently relied on as part of their long-term strategy. Last season followed that exact blueprint. The team carried their main options while keeping a developmental arm in reserve, someone who could simulate opposing quarterbacks in practice while also being ready in case of emergency. That role ended up being more important than expected, and it played a part in shaping how the team now views its depth chart moving forward. They saw value in development, in patience, and in giving younger players time to grow within the system. But now comes the big question that's hanging over this entire situation. How do they fill that third quarterback spot this time around? Do they go with experience, bringing in a veteran who has seen it all before, someone who can guide the room and provide insurance? Or do they stick with the philosophy of building from within, targeting a young player with potential and developing him behind the scenes? What makes this even more interesting is the confidence the coaching staff seems to have in Drake May. There's a clear belief that he's not just another young quarterback trying to find his way, but someone who is already beginning to take control of the offense. His ability to command the huddle, adjust at the line of scrimmage, and truly understand the system is starting to stand out. That kind of growth changes everything when it comes to how you build the rest of the quarterback room. Because when your starter is still developing, you often feel the need to bring in a seasoned veteran to stabilize things. Someone who can act as a mentor, someone who has been through the ups and downs of the league. But if the coaching staff truly believes that May is already stepping into that leadership role, then the need for a veteran presence becomes much less urgent. It shifts the focus entirely toward development rather than experience. And that's where the strategy starts to become clear. Instead of looking for a proven name in free agency, the Patriots appear to be leaning toward adding a young arm, someone they can mold over time. A player who doesn't need to come in and contribute immediately, but who can learn the system, adapt to the speed of the league, and grow behind the scenes while the top of the depth chart handles the pressure. It also reflects something deeper about the direction of this team. There's a strong emphasis on building continuity, on creating a system where players develop together rather than constantly bringing in outside pieces to fill gaps. It's about trusting the process, trusting the coaching, and most importantly, trusting the players already in the building. At the same time, this approach does come with its own set of risks. Relying on a young quarterback room means putting a lot of faith in development. It means believing that your coaching staff can get the most out of these players and that they'll be ready if their number is called. It's not the safest route, but it can be one of the most rewarding if it works out the way you envision. And as the offseason continues to unfold, all eyes are going to be on how the Patriots choose to address this. Because whether it happens through the draft or through an unexpected move, one thing is certain. They cannot go into the season with just 2 quarterbacks. The league simply doesn't allow for that kind of gamble anymore, and the margin for error is far too small. So now, the attention starts to shift toward the next phase of this process, where potential targets begin to emerge and the front office starts evaluating which direction makes the most sense. And when you look at the type of quarterbacks that fit this system, there are some very interesting names that start to come into play. As the conversation starts to shift toward possible additions, This is where things really get interesting, because the Patriots are not just looking for any quarterback to fill a spot. They are looking for a very specific profile, someone who fits the identity of the offense and understands how to operate within a system that demands discipline, decision-making, and ball security above everything else. This is not about finding the flashiest arm or the most athletic playmaker. It is about finding someone who can execute, someone who can be trusted. When you study the type of offense being built, it becomes clear that mobility within the pocket is valued, but only when it serves a purpose. Extending plays is important, but not at the cost of putting the ball in danger. The priority remains protecting possession, making the right reads, and staying composed under pressure. That is the kind of mindset they want from a third quarterback, especially one who is going to spend time developing behind the scenes before ever stepping onto the field in a meaningful moment. That is why the draft becomes such a key avenue here. Late rounds are filled with quarterbacks who may not be polished, who may not have had the spotlight on them throughout their college careers, but who possess traits that can be molded. These are players who have shown flashes, whether it is accuracy, decision-making, or leadership, and those flashes are what teams like the Patriots look to build on. It is about projection as much as production. There is also something to be said about the environment these young quarterbacks would be stepping into. They would not be asked to carry the franchise or to compete for the starting job right away. Instead, they would have the opportunity to learn at their own pace, to absorb the system, and to grow without the pressure that usually comes with being a high draft pick. That kind of situation can be incredibly valuable, especially for players who need time to refine their mechanics and adjust to the speed of the professional game. At the same time, the Patriots are clearly paying attention to how these quarterbacks performed in college, not just in terms of statistics, but in how they handled responsibility. Completion percentage matters because it reflects accuracy and consistency. Touchdown to interception ratio matters because it shows decision-making. But beyond the numbers, there is a deeper evaluation taking place. How did they respond in big moments? Did they protect the football when the game was on the line? Did they elevate the players around them? Those questions are critical because the role of a third quarterback goes beyond just being an emergency option. This is someone who contributes in practice, who helps prepare the defense by simulating opposing offenses, and who needs to be mentally sharp at all times. Even without game action, their development continues every single week, and the coaching staff needs to trust that they are progressing in the right direction. Another layer to this entire situation is how the locker room dynamics come into play. A young quarterback coming in must be able to integrate quickly, to build chemistry with teammates, and to understand the culture that the organization is trying to establish. That is not something that shows up on a stat sheet, but it is something that can make a significant difference in how successful a player becomes over time. And when you connect all of these elements, the picture starts to come together. The Patriots are not just filling a gap on the roster. They are making a calculated decision about the future of their quarterback room. They are looking for someone who can grow within the system, who can complement what Drake May is already bringing to the table, and who can eventually become a reliable option if called upon. There is also a level of patience required from everyone involved. Fans often want immediate results, immediate impact, but this is a long-term play. The development of a quarterback, especially one taken in the later rounds, does not happen overnight. It takes time, repetition, and consistent coaching. It takes learning from mistakes and gradually building confidence within the system. But if the Patriots get this right, it could quietly become one of the smartest moves of their offseason. Finding value in the later rounds, developing talent internally, and maintaining stability at one of the most important positions in the game is how successful teams sustain themselves over time. It may not grab headlines right away, but it lays the foundation for future success. And as the draft approaches, the anticipation continues to build, because somewhere in that pool of prospects is a quarterback who fits exactly what this team is looking for, someone who may not be widely talked about now, but who could eventually play a meaningful role in shaping the direction of this franchise. And what makes this search even more fascinating is how unpredictable the late rounds of the draft can be when it comes to quarterbacks. Every year, there are players who slip through the cracks, guys who were overlooked for one reason or another, whether it is the level of competition they faced, the system they played in, or simply not having that headline-grabbing profile. But once they get into the right environment, everything can change, And that is exactly the kind of opportunity the Patriots are trying to create here. You start to picture how one of these young quarterbacks would fit into the daily routine of the team, learning behind Drake May, watching how he prepares, how he studies film, how he commands the offense. That kind of exposure is invaluable, especially for someone who is still adjusting to the professional level. It is not just about physical development. It is about understanding the mental side of the game, the details that separate a good quarterback from a reliable one in the NFL. At the same time, competition will still exist, even for that third spot. Nothing is going to be handed to anyone, and that has always been part of the culture. Whoever comes in will have to earn their place, showing consistency in practice, making smart decisions, and proving that they can be trusted within the structure of the offense. That internal competition only raises the standard across the entire quarterback room, which ultimately benefits the team as a whole. There is also the preseason factor, which often becomes the first real test for these young players. That is where they get a chance to step onto the field, run the offense in live situations, and show how much they have absorbed in a short amount of time. For a late-round quarterback or an undrafted player, those moments can define their trajectory, either solidifying their spot or forcing the team to reassess their options before the regular season begins. And as all of this unfolds, the bigger picture remains clear. The Patriots are building something methodically, piece by piece, and the quarterback position is at the center of it all. Adding a young arm to develop behind the current group is not just about depth for this season. It is about setting up a structure that can sustain success moving forward, ensuring that no matter what happens, there is always a plan in place and a player ready to step in when the moment arrives. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to Patriots Hub and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep delivering the latest updates on our New England Patriots. And don't be shy, share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Tension is quietly building around the New England Patriots defensive unit, and whispers from inside the organization suggest that head coach Mike Vrabel has reached a breaking point. Known for his hard-nosed philosophy and demand for physical, relentless football, Vrabel is reportedly growing increasingly frustrated with what he perceives as a lack of aggression from key players on defense. At the center of the speculation stands cornerback Christian Gonzalez, a talented but still developing piece of the Patriots secondary. Sources close to the situation hint that Vrabel has delivered a firm internal message. The defense must adopt a more assertive, punishing identity, or significant changes could follow. While no official statements have been made, the tone behind closed doors is described as urgent and uncompromising. Gonzalez, widely viewed as one of the franchise's promising young defenders, is now unexpectedly at the heart of trade chatter. The idea of moving Gonzalez may seem drastic, especially considering his upside and importance to the team's long-term plans. However, insiders suggest that Vrabel's vision leaves little room for hesitation or passive play. He is believed to be pushing for a unit that dictates tempo, disrupts offenses, and embraces physical confrontation on every snap. Anything less, according to those familiar with his mindset, risks falling short of the standard he is trying to establish. Around the locker room, reactions are said to be mixed. Some veterans reportedly welcome the tougher stance, viewing it as a necessary step toward restoring the Patriots' defensive identity. Others, however, are said to be surprised by how quickly the situation has escalated, particularly with a young player like Gonzalez becoming a focal point of potential roster decisions. League observers are already speculating about possible suitors should the Patriots seriously explore trade options. Gonzalez's skill set would likely attract considerable interest, making the situation one to watch closely. For now, though, everything remains in the realm of rumor and internal pressure. What is clear is that Vrabel is drawing a line. Whether that line leads to a revitalized, aggressive defense or a shocking personnel move could define the direction of the Patriots moving forward. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our New England Patriots, be sure to subscribe to Patriots Hub and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.